Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay and the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-It Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
This is the Black Gold Banneret Podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Jeff Sharon, Eric Lopez, and Brian Murphy.
Welcome to the show, Jeff, Brian, and wait a second, no Eric today. Look who's joining us. It's Andrew Gluchov joining us here on the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast, pinch hitting for our Eric Lopez. What's up, Drew?
I am playing the role of utility infielder.
I'll take it. Are there any utility infielders anymore?
I was gonna go real deep and say that Drew is now turning into the Jose Oquendo of the Black Gold Banneret
I was gonna say Sean Figgins.
Sean Figgins isn't
Yeah,
bad.
but he steals
Figgins would
bases,
be a good one.
and I'm way too fat and slow for that.
Sorry. Well, we're here. We got lots to talk about. Thank you, Drew, for joining us. Brian, how are you?
I am always here. I never left. I'm always just on Zoom. I didn't even log off the last time we stopped the show. My screen's always open.
Yeah,
he has a
that's
cop.
not true. It's this is show number 275. Did you guys know that? 275 shows, the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. We are the longest running continuous UCF sports podcast on the internet. You can follow us at UCF_Banneret, Facebook.com/Black and Gold Banneret, and of course, blackandgoldbanneret.com. Follow us individually at Jeff_Sharon. I was about to say Eric Lopez Elo, but Eric is not here, of course. Statboy Drew is Drew's Twitter handle, and of course, Spokes_Murphy on Twitter. We got a lot to talk about, but we will begin with the champs are back once again. A three-peat for UCF Volleyball. Head coach Todd Dagenais. We'll talk to him in just a second. By the way, we also have Gabe Decamps of men's tennis who we're going to talk to. But we're leading with volleyball and UCF getting through the American Athletic Conference Championship. It was not easy. Last Friday, they squeaked past Tulane, a very good and very game Tulane team, in a match where it looked like just about everything was going wrong for UCF. They somehow get through and win in 5. By the way, they hit under 200 in every set until the 5th, and then they finally hit over 200. Won that match. And by the way, this is without Amber Olsen, who was out for an undisclosed reason. But in the meantime, so then they end up having to face Temple in the championship. Now, Temple waltzed past Houston, and Houston, by the way, almost beat Baylor, but came into the tournament kind of cold. I think they'd lost 3 of their last 4 coming in, and Temple got them. But from that point, Temple did tie the match at 1 with a 26-24 win in the second, but UCF got the victory in 4 and clinched their 3rd consecutive American Athletic Conference championship. McKenna Melville was named the tournament most valuable player, 2nd time in a row that she's done that. Todd Dagenais, by the way, they released the conference awards the day after. McKenna was the conference most valuable player or most outstanding player. Todd was the co-head coach of the year along with Bakir Ganasratnam of Temple, who, by the way, also deserved that for the job that he did this year with Temple. And then also first team honors for Anne-Marie Watson and second team honors for Narissa Moravec, who I thought would have been the defensive player of the year in the conference this year. But the result for UCF is they are headed to the NCAA Championship. A field of 48 this year dropped down from 64. So the top 16 seeds get buys. UCF is not a national seed, but for once they're not playing teams from the state of Florida, which is always crowded in volleyball. They are playing High Point in the first round, April 14th on Wednesday, April 14th, 3:30 p.m. It'll be on ESPN. It's listed as ESPN3, but that's basically the same thing as ESPN Plus. And the whole tournament is in Omaha, Nebraska. They're playing it at the convention center over there. The winner of the match plays 7 seed Purdue out of the Big Ten, which to me feels like a very favorable matchup for UCF. But I want to go back and talk about the tournament, guys. This is hard to do. All right, 3 straight conference championships, and doing it in the way that they did it, without one of their top setters, and they managed to pull it off. I had my heart in my throat for all these matches here. I don't know about you guys, but it for me it really was encouraging to see UCF really not play their best and still win in this dramatic a setting anyway. They're 16-1 on the year. I mean, what does this mean for the program and for Todd Dagenais and this particular group of players? And Murph, I'll start with you.
Well, the word three-peat still carries a lot of weight in any sport now. I mean, no matter what the accomplishment is, when you say three-peat, everybody knows you've done something. Not only not only that you've achieved something, but you've achieved something really spectacular. It's very hard to do, especially like when you have become the hunted for 2 years straight and you fight off all the attackers. Basically, the most, I think, amazing thing for UCF in this tournament was nearing the end of that third set. And by the way, everybody should know that, as we talked about on this podcast last week, this was a one bid league. UCF, even though they had a fantastic regular season, was not going to get in the conference. Got in the NCAA tournament if they had lost. It slipped up in the conference tourney. They're down, and it's a 1-1. It's a 1-1 match in the third set, and Tulane has 3 match points, up 24-22, and UCF
set points, I think. Right?
Yes, set points, and able to stave that off, win set 3, and then close it out in set 5 because McKenna Melville is a goddess. I mean,
she's not human.
Yeah, she's an alien.
So I want, and then it seemed like the championship match was easier for them, an easier road. Certainly the last couple sets of that match, they just kind of dominated. I wonder if the domination late in that tournament grew out of the sort of, internal fortitude, as it were, that they had to show in that third set and in the fifth set to get to that championship match.
McKenna had 46 kills and 30 digs in the 2 matches. Just phenomenal. I mean,
that's beast mode.
21 and 19 in that, and they needed every last one of them. What do you think, Drew?
Well, I mean, as I said, McKenna Melville's not human. I mean, she's otherworldly, and the crazy part is, she's got another year of eligibility. I don't think it's coincidental that the three-peat seems to coincide with her being at UCF for 3 seasons. She's that good. Another thing to keep in mind is, don't forget, not too long, Eric Lopez did his ladder of coaches. Well, Todd Dagenais is he's moving his way up because anyone gets a three-peat, you start going into an upper pantheon of coaches, because not many ever get the chance to say that. Heck, not many get the chance to say back to back. But that Tulane match was by far the toughest test that they had to face. Tulane was a very scrappy team. They always seem to find a way to steal a set from UCF. So you're not playing in your home court, and it can throw you off. And they had to dig down, and that's what championship caliber shows up, is when you're pushed, you push back. And by the time Temple showed up, they were gassed. They were shorthanded. I think they had like 7 players.
7 players in their rotation, which is what they had more or less cut their rotation down to, basically 1 substitution the entire,
and they gassed out
in their rotation. And
you can tell
that's hard to do.
Yeah, you can tell when that third set ended and it's 2-1 that they gassed out. And you got to give Temple a lot of credit there. When you're playing against a really strong team like UCF, you can't go in with that few horses and expect to keep the energy up, because it's tiring. But, getting pushed, that really helps you when you start going towards championship time. And as you said, high point first round, a potential second round against Purdue. And then if chalk, if it goes on the chalk, you have a third round matchup with 10 seed Oregon, which is another winnable match that could really propel them. I mean, it was a little frustrating to see that, the way the season shook out, just because, you cut down the number of teams available, the league struggled.
Basically not a lot of non-conference play. They could only play teams
everyone was in their little bubbles, and it's, as we've always seen, it's the non-conference that sets one conference apart from the other. So it becomes really hard for the committee to kind of figure out, okay, who's really deserving or not. I mean, let's take the black and gold goggles off a little bit, and you can say it's 16-1. This team should at least gotten consideration for an at-large if things went sideways, compared to a 6th or 7th ranked Big Ten squad within their own conference. But that's where the non-conference issues really, really hurt. So UCF took care of business, and they're in the dance.
They had all the pressure on them, like you guys were saying, and they still came through. And now it's I've mentioned it. We're going to go to Todd in a little bit here, but I mentioned before, this is a team that has now won 77 of their last 92 overall, and 50 of their last 52 against teams in the American Athletic Conference, which is mind-boggling. So without further ado, let's get the big guy in here right now. Todd Dagenais, the head coach of UCF Volleyball. Spoke with him on Tuesday, and here's my interview with Todd. Well, fresh off a grueling American Athletic Conference tournament run that saw UCF win its third consecutive conference title, they've now won 50 of their last 52 matches against opponents from the American and 77 of their last 92 overall, and they are going back to the dance for the third consecutive year. The co-coach of the year in the American this year, UCF Volleyball's Todd Dagenais joining me. Congratulations, Coach. How are you?
Jeff, doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm sure you're not just doing good. You sound like you're relieved to get through that tournament after Tulane gave you 5 tough sets, and then and Temple was no easy out either. It was a real test for your team. You guys got challenged this weekend, but you came through. How'd you do it?
I think this goes all the way back to last July and August, where we're starting to gear up for a season, and we don't know if the season's going to happen, and we say we're going to go ahead, we're going forth, we're having a season, and then all of a sudden that gets pulled. And so you've gone through all the prepping, you're ready to play that first match, and then it doesn't happen. So now you go into some sort of a pseudo 3-4 day a week training mode all the way through the fall, and that's exhausting. I mean, it's 15, 16 weeks of training, and you don't know when you're going to play again. You work your way through the season and qualify for the tournament. And I think the tough thing is having that target on your back. And they go, and you get the kiss of death by having that number 1 ranking in the conference, which nobody really ever wants. But as the season unfolded, we really took care of business in our division, won that first seed in our division, and had to play Tulane again. And we played Tulane earlier in the year. That was the match that was scheduled. I think both coaches scheduled it for the same reason. Tulane knew that there's a chance that for them to play for the conference championship, they'd have to beat us at least in one of the matches. And, I'm feeling the same thing. I'm feeling for us to have a chance to play for a championship, we're going to have to play and beat them. So beating them twice, 3-1 each time, really gave Tulane the advantage. They knew what adjustments they needed to make. They knew where they needed to play better. We had some ideas and things we could improve on. We learned a little bit about them, some of the adjustments they might make after losing a set, some of the plays they might run out of a timeout. So, we learned some things about them, but they learned 10 times more about us. Then we head up to Cincinnati, and the week leading into that, of course, we find out that we're going to be shorthanded, and not just shorthanded in a pretty important position. And thank goodness we have 3 starting setters on our team. Drezi Pass has been a setter both years, a starting setter both years that she's with us. And, she just jumped right into that role. And I think that's where a lot of the emotional anxiety came from is, okay, we've been this team for X number of weeks, and now all of a sudden we're this team, and the chemistry changes a little bit. Just because there's different people on the floor. And volleyball is such a chemistry game. It's all about the person that's next to you. And I thought that first night we did not play well at all. And Tulane has everything to win, so they're going to bring it. But us playing well had nothing to do with the change at the setter position. It had everything to do with us wondering, are we as good, are we as deserving as what we were 1 week before? Mm-hmm. And I think we spent 3-4 sets trying to figure out if we deserved, to be there. And I think it was probably, somewhere in that 3rd or 4th set, we knew that we did. We started to calm down, but we got into the 5th set, and just all of a sudden the look in the eye just switched, and the calmness just kind of overcame everybody. And we went out there, and it was UCF volleyball of the last 10 weeks in that 5th set. Once we got through that battle with Tulane, we felt really good heading into the next night. We just didn't know who we were going to play.
Yeah, and I mean, credit to Temple too. But I do want to talk a little bit about that Tulane match, because I don't think I recall seeing you guys play a match where you won where in 4 of the 5 sets you hit under 200, and the percentage went up each set, and that's how you managed to. And I think that goes to what you were talking about. That managed to, as the confidence built, so did the level that you were playing at.
It was an ugly match, Jeff. It was really an ugly match. And you're right. The hitting percentages were half of what they normally are. And the casual volleyball fan will say, well, it's because of the change that you made. And no, it wasn't. It was because here we were with a target on our back, completely, being shot at, so to speak, by Tulane, and not knowing if we were capable of responding to an attack. They came on the first set and hit over 400 against us. Yeah, that's our defense. That's our block. That's our bread and butter all year long. And that one hit in the heart. You know what I mean? Yeah. No, the offense wasn't there. But again, I think it was more people trying to compensate for something that they didn't need to compensate for. So there was a lot of pressing, there was a lot of pressure, there was a lot of things that they didn't need to be there. We brought in a lot of emotional baggage that didn't need to be there. And the one thing that did settle in was our bread and butter, our block and our defense. And if you look at the hitting numbers as the match went along, we got control of the match defensively just good enough that we were able to score just a little bit better. Right. And I mean, you look at the match as a whole, we got out hit, maybe we got out dug, we didn't get out blocked, but you look at the match as a whole, we got outplayed. But if you break it down set by set, we took care of business in some really critical key areas at key times. And clearly we could have just folded and said, you know what, we've been dealt a pretty crappy poker hand. It's just not going to be our night. And we didn't. We played defense. We blocked. We scrapped. We ran balls down. We served tough. We took chances. And when it came right down to it, and we're in the fifth set, I thought we were pretty darn good. We had the right mentality. We want to be assertive. We want to take control. We want to dominate. And I thought ultimately that was the difference, is that we were willing to get in there and just win a mud wrestling match. And that's what it was. It was a dirty, ugly mud wrestling match.
Yeah. And to what you were saying, looking back at the numbers from that semifinal against Tulane, even though you hit under 200 for the first 4 sets, you out-hit Tulane percentage-wise in the last 4, and that speaks to what you were talking about, how, it was ugly, but we got it done with the defense. Tell me about the job that, I think that this year what's really been the people who've really come up big for you up front, like you said, the middles, the blockers. I mean, we know what you're getting with Anne Marie. She's the best blocking right side and probably in the country as far as I'm concerned. But I feel like if there wasn't a Libero of the Year award, right? If instead it was like a Defensive Player of the Year award in the conference, that would have gone to Narissa Moravec this year. How good has she been? How good has Kat Westlich been this year for you? Because they look like they just hit another level.
Yeah, I think, you look at the year as a whole, and our ability to block and play defense is what allowed our serving game to be so good. We're a good serving team. Mm-hmm. So what you do is you put this all together, right? You serve, you get a team out of system, you try to trap them into doing something they don't want to do, you make sure you got a good block there, and that's where you score. And we did that so well this year, where we combined the serve, the block, the defense, the transition and attack, and below air. It was really a methodical way of manufacturing points. And yes, it's all predicated on the outside blockers setting the block up correctly. And we're making adjustments and changes throughout the entire match of how we're lining up on their hitters. And the middle blockers getting their closing, getting their hands pressed over, and at least, if nothing else, giving the hitter something to think about. Not only did they rack up enough blocks to be ranked nationally, they caused more hitting errors just because of their presence. Mm. And, hitting errors are direct points. It's just as good as a block. So, yeah, you think about unsung heroes, and it doesn't always get written up, and it's not going to get player of the week. But going out there and blocking 3 balls a game consistently as a team, that's a big number. That really is a big number. You see that a lot of times in teams that are 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", 6'6" across the front row. That's not us, but discipline, good eye work, being in the right spot. Those were 3 points every set that, we could count on coming from the block. And then all the residual, even if we didn't get the block, we got a better ball to dig, an easier ball to transition on and try to put away on a first swing after a dig.
Yeah. 8th in the country in that category out of 306 teams, blocks per set, like you were saying, at 2.85 a game. That's stunning. Let me ask you about Emily Lawrence. She stepped in for you at the setter position with Amber out for the tournament, and like you said, settled right in after a little bit of a rocky start where everyone was trying to figure out how's this going to work. And in the match against Temple with the championship on the line, 28 assists to lead your team. Obviously a career high for her. True freshman. I mean, how can you? I mean, what can you say about her in that in those 2 days, stepping in as she did and performing as she did?
Well, I think there's two things there. You talk about Emily Lawrence. Emily actually took over that starting role back after about halfway through the season after we played Florida State. We knew that coming out of club and she's setting one of the top teams in the country successfully, playing for national championships, we knew that she was going to be able to adapt to the collegiate game quickly. You just never really know how quick when it's at the college level. So she comes in and, every week we see her getting better and better and better. And we, we're tracking metrics like crazy, pages and pages of stats and metrics. And we finally decided it was time that Emily was ready to play. So right after the loss to Florida State, Emily jumps in the starting lineup with Amber, and the offense kicked into another gear. Now that's not saying that Dreszy was doing anything wrong. We just felt like, maybe it gave us a different dimension, and we felt like it was maybe time to make that switch. And it turned out that it worked out. Now, here is the story of the year, I think, with this team, is that you get beaten out by somebody that's a year younger than you. You have two choices. You can say, you know what, my career's done. You can say, woe is me. You can feel sorry for yourself. You can complain. Or you can do what Dreszy did. Come up to my office and said, all right, what exactly is it that I need to work on? Let's take a look at film. Then she gets with Jenny, her setting coach, and she works an extra 15 minutes every single day just on her own technique. And then when we're in practice, she's running all of the opponent material against our starters every day. And she was as invested in this team as anybody, maybe even more so. And that's what you want to see as a coach, is you want to see somebody that really had a disappointment just kind of go back to the drawing board and reinvent herself. And she did that. And what she did in that process is knowing that if something ever happened to one of our setters, we have 3 starting setters. Mm-hmm. And knowing that Amber was going to be out, it was like, Dreszy's ready. She's been crushing it on the B side. And there's no reason why she can't come over. And players in our gym are playing on both sides of the net anyway. That's how we get good, is playing against ourselves. It's a mix of starters and backups all the time. So she's setting starters in practice. And she just made the transition into the starting lineup absolutely seamlessly. I think the problem, like I said, really wasn't with her being in the starting lineup. The problem was everybody else wondering, are we going to be as good? And there was no reason to believe we weren't going to be, or we couldn't be. And once we realized that we were going to be okay, I think that's the team that you saw on the second night, which was kind of back to UCF volleyball, with setters distributing the ball and hitters putting the ball away, blocking defense, dominating with the serve. And so Dreszy is the unsung hero of the season, because she came to a crossroads that many athletes come to. If you lose a spot, or if you get beaten out, or a coach makes a decision to go somewhere else, she chose to get better and fight versus pack it in and fold. And that's not something you see a lot of these days. And there's a ton of respect for an student athlete like that I have. And Dreszy came in and saved our season. That's not hyperbole. That's for real. And she came in and she saved our season.
Wow. We saw Anne-Marie Watson have that tough match against Tulane where she had 091. 24 hours later, she drops 393 on Temple, 13 kills on 28 swings. 5 block assists. It feels to me like teams kind of are starting to say, well, we can't McKenna Melville's going to get hers, right? But if we can stop that other side, we might be able to get something. Is that what's going on right there, or is it a little something different, do you think?
I don't know. I think if I'm preparing for UCF and I look at Melville and I say, okay, she's going to hit at least 270, if not higher, has the potential of putting up 20, 25 points a night. Maybe we try to slow her down a little bit by serving her, which is a mistake, because she loves to pass to attack.
Yeah.
We'll put our biggest block on her. That's fine. She has every shot in the book. She'll find a way to use hands. She doesn't need to get a clean kill to take a kill. She'd be more than happy to jam somebody's finger, and score a point in the process. So, I don't think teams really are focusing on her. I don't think they can, because like you said, you've got Anne Marie on the other side who can put up 10 to 15. You've got Mackenzie Chambers who can put up 8 to 10.
Yeah.
You've got the middles who can combine for 10 to 15. You've got Tolly who can go out and get you 10 to 15. So go ahead. You just throw your lineup out there, and then we're going to figure out who's going to have a good night. And we know the moment the opponents put their lineup on the floor, we have a good idea of who is best suited to have a good night. And that is the beauty of having the balance that we've been trying to work on all year long. Mackenzie Chambers did exactly the same thing. They put all their resources into McKenna and into Anne Marie, and look at what Tolly and Mackenzie do.
Yeah.
They have, I don't know if it's their best match of the season, but it's pretty close to it. And the middles, Temple just really decided they're going to jam up the middle and make sure that our middles didn't score. And that's fine. Our middles went to their default job, and that's blocking the ball and causing confusion in the middle and letting the outsides have free reign. And it was a very unselfish job by them, giving up the offensive night, having a good defensive night, but letting the 4 outside hitters shine.
Yeah, it really, and in that Temple match, it showed. You were right, because Mackenzie hit 429, 9 out of 14, and Tolly hit 14 on 26. So that's 462. Only 5 errors combined between.
Those are big time numbers.
Yeah,
those are all American level numbers. If you do that over the course of the season, you're a first team All American.
Yeah, 5 players hit over 333 for you in that match, and that was the difference. You guys just played, like you said, played UCF volleyball in that match. All right, so you get back home, and quick turnaround. Now we change our focus to the NCAA tournament. Although you have a good, give or take, a couple days, 2 weeks to prepare before you go out to Omaha. The first match is against High Point in the first round on April the 14th. It'll be on ESPN Plus at 3:30. Before we get to actually specifics about the tournament and the bracket that you're in, getting this team to a tournament for a third straight time. This is only the third time that it's happened that many times at UCF. Your first time, Meg Collado did it in the early 2000s. Laura Smith did it in the 90s. Describe for the fans, who everyone knows that it's hard enough to grab the crown. It's hard enough to keep it. And to keep it 3 straight years is such a heavy lift, especially in this sport and the way you've done it. How satisfying was it on Sunday night seeing your name up there on that screen?
Yeah, it is tough. And the reason why is the fact that a volleyball team has to grow and mature, and it usually takes a year and a half, 2 years to do that. So if you could win, you see a lot of back-to-backs. They win it as juniors, they win it as seniors, and then they're a young team again. So they wait a couple of years until they're juniors and seniors. But, this was a group that the core of the group won it as freshmen, then they won it as sophomores. Now I turn around and win it as juniors. it just doesn't happen very often unless your talent and your resources are so superior to that of the rest of the conference. You see that happen there's leagues where a team has won it 15, 16 years in a row, but it's just because their talent and their resources just far exceed their competition. That's not the American. In the American, there are 6 teams that could win the championship, at least this year. Yeah. And this was a tough year to win it because, I said this earlier in the year, the top of the conference regressed more to the middle. The bottom of the conference rose to the middle. So the parity, if you look at a scatter chart, that the tightness of the talent, because you didn't have time to train. The training is what separates the teams. The development, the skill development, the system work is what separates the teams. None of that was there this year. So it was a tightly packed group that you never really did know who was going to step out for sure. So to go out there and do it the third year under the circumstances that we did it, it's a really special feeling. It's a unbelievable tribute to the student athletes who went through this, and the coaching staff who put, crazy amount of hours trying to put us in the best position possible. So, you look back and, the third one is always special. It's tough to three-peat. It's, there's just not many competitive conferences where you have a three-peat, especially, in the top 7 or 8 conferences in the country. And, I haven't even had the ability nor the time to think about, what kind of accomplishment that is or what that means. All I know is I see the smile on their faces, and it's more of a relief. We survived the year. We played our matches. We got to have a conference championship, and knock on wood, we're going to be able to, compete in a national championship if all goes well.
Yeah. So let me take it to the first round. 8 days from now. What am I saying? I'm losing track of time already.
Right. It's as we record this, it's Tuesday. We'll leave on Sunday and we will compete on Wednesday.
All right. So it's first of all, it's nice not having to go to Gainesville again, right? And seeing Florida State and Florida looming over your head.
When we knew it was going to be in the bubble, we knew there's a good chance that they were going to seed the entire tournament 1 through 48. And that's not something they do. They always seed 1 through 16.
Right.
They all host, and then they find the 3 closest teams to each of the hosts, and they bring them in. So how many times have we seen UCF, Florida, Florida State, and Florida Gulf Coast? Mm-hmm. More times than we like to count. Right. So we're playing a Final Four match, if not the first round, the second round. We're playing a Final Four caliber match. So by seeding it top to bottom this time, we get to play a high point in the tournament. That's something that would never happen.
Right.
And if we can somehow find a way to get by a high point who's undefeated, we would have to hand them their first loss. Now we get a Purdue. We haven't played Purdue since my first year here at UCF. So, right. We're going to get to see some other teams that we normally wouldn't get to see or play in the NCAA tournament. And we're really excited about that.
Do you feel for yourself and the team and the coaching staff that it's a little bit, isn't it an advantage possibly playing a more familiar opponent like a Florida or Florida State in the tournament in the first weekend? Or do you like, matching yourself up against a different style that perhaps maybe you would feel that you match up a little better against?
I love the ability to play teams from all around the country. We see Florida enough in the spring or in the fall. We'll play them in the fall. So it's going to be exciting to try to see how we compare to, a High Point who's dominant in their conference, is scoring a lot of points, who's hitting 300 on the year. If we're, like I said, if we're able to get through that, then we get the second place team in the Big Ten, third place team in the Big Ten, top 15 top 10 program in Purdue. And then if we're somehow able to get through that, now we're playing the second place team of the Pac-12. So that's exciting because we're being seeded where we're supposed to be seeded. I think if you shake it out, it's either 24, 25, 26. That's where we are in the Massey ratings. That's where we are in the Volley Talk poll. I think we're 26, 27 or something like that in the AVCA poll. So we're seated right where we probably should be. Somewhere between that 23 and 27 range. Yeah. That's not a bad spot to be. That's I think what we've earned. And looking forward to seeing, what kind of opportunities that gives us.
All right. Well, I know that I'm excited to see it because, I think that, High Point, like you said, better than people think out of the Big South. They're really good. They really do play the two-way game very well. They're one of the top teams, not just in offensive hitting percentage, but also in defensive hit percentage allowed. So I guess my last question for you here is, what's it going to look like here for you for the next 8 days and in terms of planning everything and getting ready for the trip out to Nebraska?
We'll continue to train. I think what we're doing at this point is practice is being scaled back. We're not going as long. We're being very aware of the number of jumps, the number of hours, how much stress we're putting on the body. Because when you get to tournament time, a lot of times it's the freshest team wins. And so we want to be sharp, but we want to be fresh. So we're getting in, putting in, hour and 15 to an hour and 45 of good work. We'll probably go 3 days on, maybe a day off, and then 3 days on again. Sunday, head out to Omaha. You're not allowed to practice on the day you travel this year because we begin the COVID testing protocol that they have for us.
Right.
We will be able to practice once the protocol begins. So we'll have a couple days of practice Monday, Tuesday, and play the first match on Wednesday. So it's not going to be a whole lot of downtime, not going to be a ton of preparation time, but it's going to be just enough to get us ready. And we're happy to represent the American. We're happy to represent our university. We worked hard for this, and we're fortunate that the hard work paid off. It's going to give us a chance to go out there and hopefully make people proud.
Well, I know that your players made you proud this past weekend, and here's to a little bit more of that out in Omaha on the 14th and points beyond. So head coach Todd Dagenais, the co-coach of the year in the American, three-time American Athletic Conference champion UCF Volleyball, facing High Point in the first round of the NCAA Tournament. If they get through the Panthers, they will face the Purdue Boilermakers, the 7 seed. All those matches will be on ESPN Plus, and we'll be covering them right here on Black and Gold Banneret. Todd, thanks again for the time, man. Congratulations. I know how relieved you're feeling that you got through that weekend, but here's to a great week up in Omaha, and let's see what happens, huh?
Yeah, let's just hope we recover from the trip up to Cincinnati and the challenging emotional weekend that we went through. Get healed up, get everybody back, get our full roster together, get on a plane, get to Omaha, and try to take care of business and play as long as we can.
All right, man. Congratulations. Best of luck. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks. Take care, Jeff.
Tremendous thanks to Todd, as usual, for his time and his insight. What a coaching job by him and Jenny Maurer and Brian Doyen and TJ Reed and the whole staff at UCF getting this team through this. Like we said, they had all the pressure on them. That's a tough seat to be in, and they made it through. All right, Murph, as we know, doesn't like making predictions, so I'm going to throw this to Drew, you only.
Thanks.
odds on. All right, if you had to throw your money down right now, how far does UCF get in this tournament? Round of 32, round of 16, round of 8, what?
I'm going to take a safe bet and go with the round of 16.
You're calling that the safe bet? Ooh.
It's hard to make a real good prediction because these schools all played in little bubbles. It's hard to get a real bill of work of, who's High Point? Is the Big South any good? Is the American any good? How do we? You can't really judge because that's the out of conference has always been the proving ground where you separate one from the other, and so we don't have that. Once you start getting deeper in tournament, obviously it gets harder. UCF's really good. I mean, they can definitely get to the Elite Eight. But I'm going to take the conservative route and say the round of 16, which means they win this round and they defeat Purdue in the second round.
I think that they certainly have a shot to do that. They have a very good shot to do that. Due respect to High Point, obviously, and Purdue. Purdue's a Big Ten team. They're going to give you Big Ten size, but UCF's best asset is its athleticism, and that can get them into that can get those big physical Big Ten teams into some real problems when it comes to matchups. It's not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination, but there's a shot there. There's as good a shot as any, and it's just nice. It's going to be interesting to see what UCF can do, not having been locked into the Gainesville Regional and having to go through Florida every single time. It's going to be fun to see them match up with some irregular teams. So I'm looking forward to it. Remember the volleyball tournament in Omaha, and it will begin Wednesday at 3:30, and will be over by the time we record our next show. So we'll be able to debrief from that. And yes, Drew,
I'd like to point out that those Gators get to play against the winner of Morehead State and Creighton. So Morehead State of the Ohio Valley Conference.
Don't
Creighton of the Big East.
sleep on Creighton.
Don't
sleep on Creighton.
Well, the best part is they're on the complete opposite corner bracket compared to UCF.
Yeah.
So we don't have to worry about them
Don't
anytime
have to worry
soon.
about them. It's all right. When we get back, we'll talk a little bit about Pro Day. Drew discussing Pro Day as well because he was covering it for us, and then we'll bring Murph in to talk about Isaiah Adams making a declaration for the NBA draft, but still maintaining his eligibility. What are the odds on that? Stick around. We'll be right back. This is the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Back after this.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.
All right, welcome back. Jeff, Brian, and Drew with you here on the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. And joining us now from whatever it was he was doing in the first segment, Eric Lopez is now with us here on the show. Hi, Eric.
Hey, it's called working other gigs like Magic, Wizards, NBA. It's fantastic.
You love this game, don't you? It's great.
You have to watch that one. Yes.
All right, we're going to talk about Pro Day, and Drew is here to talk about that because he was covering it extensively for us here on Black and Gold Banneret. You can see his article on our front page right now. All right, so Drew, highlights from Pro Day. I think that just based on what we were seeing, we got what we expected from Richie Grant. We got what we expected from Aaron Robinson. They're going to be looked at very closely by teams in the first 2 days. The guy who won the day in terms of grabbing the most attention, I thought, was Jacob Harris because he came in at 6'5", 219, 4.39, 40. Great vertical, great broad, and just people were starting to list him as a sleeper after that performance. Now, granted, it's a workout, right? I mean, but it certainly beats the alternative, which is like falling all over your face in front of 32 NFL scouts. So I'll leave it to you, since you were watching closely, who won and who has a little work to do.
Well, I mean, it's obvious Jacob Harris was the big winner, hands down. We knew that he was a physical specimen. I mean, he's a beast. Make no mistake about it. He can run, he can jump, he can do everything except catch the ball. And that's always been his biggest dig is his hands. I mean, all I can think of is, hey, watch the replacements and do what you have to do to make those hands, a little stickier, hold on to the ball. He actually did rather well during his receiver drills and workouts, catching the ball, surprisingly. But it's been his biggest downfall as a prospect. Now, with the size, don't be surprised if he's brought in, bulked up a little bit, and moved to tight end. At 6'5", there's no reason for you to be a wide receiver at that point. You add another 20 pounds worth of muscle, and you've got a really workable tight end there. And he even said during his press conference that that's something he's willing to do. So by far, Jacob Harris was the big winner. I mean, Aaron Robinson and Richie Grant did exactly what they were supposed to do. They looked great doing it. They looked fluid in their drills. Richie Grant is the ultimate ball hawk, and it's going to be a fight between the two of them of who gets drafted first. But
boy, does everyone love those two guys. It's really
they're great. And the thing is, I actually give personally, I think Robinson is a little bit more of a valuable prospect because of his versatility. He was used as a kind of a tweener almost in hype, on Hypo Squad with Randy Shannon running the defense. He lined up as a slot corner. He lined up out wide at times, and they also moved him up to play as a third linebacker. So that gives a lot of versatility. I mean, Jabril Peppers is the first guy that came to mind. Even though he played safety, he still was moved around the field and used in a variety of different ways. Aaron Robinson did that and has a lot of film to show it. Richie Grant, I think, really won in the Senior Bowl. I mean, he really stood out there. So I think it's going to be a good 1 versus 2 as far as who gets drafted first. And it can go either way. Harris went from undrafted free agent to a late round flyer. He's still a project, no matter how you spin it. As far as the guys who didn't look so hot, I get my number one guy who really did not do himself any favors was Marlon Williams. Marlon Williams, we've seen him, got great hands, can block, can run, can be hard to bring down, but he needed to really wow in some of the other measurables, and he did anything but. He's undersized for the NFL, and he's under speed. You can be small and fast, you can be tall and slow, but you can't be small and slow. And unfortunately, he did not run a good 40. His agility drills were not great, and he's under 6 feet tall, which it just plays against him from top to bottom. And I think that could potentially pull him out of the draft altogether. He could be a late day 3 guy, but there's good risk of a UDFA going for him. But he could find a way to scratch his way onto onto a club by use of his skills. His hands are he's got spider fingers for hands. He catches anything that comes near him, and he can block. He's not afraid to put his body in front of you, and he plays bigger than he is. But you're in the NFL. You can't hide behind a 5'10", 5'9" frame.
Yeah, 5'11" and a half is what he measured out as. And I think he's one of those guys that, it's the film that's his best asset, because I mean, look at the tape. We've seen what he can do both with and without the ball in his hands. Let me ask you about Otis Anderson, because so talented over the past 4 years, and he always kind of struck me as like, when thinking about him for the NFL, as another one of these kind of tweener guys. Like, he is a little undersized, but yes, he's fast, but yes, he can catch passes, but he's actually a running back, but he can do this, but he can do that. Obviously, his last 2 years, he was the only slash player on the roster, wide receiver / running back. What did he do for himself in the in pro day, and where do you think he might, at least as of right now, may end up going?
Well, I mean, he has the same problem that Adrian Killens had, which is, really undersized for the NFL. In fact, because he doesn't have quite as much speed as Killens, it really hurts his prospects.
I was going to say, right, Andrew, like he did not run a fast 40. Killings didn't get drafted and he was one of the fastest guys. I think that, you mentioned that. I didn't think he had a great pro day either.
He didn't. And if you read my article about pro day, he's actually the second guy that I pointed out as one that really struggled. He needed to show really great on the agility drills, and he did not deliver what he needed to make up for the lack of size. I mean, he's small. He measured, in the 5'8" range. I think it was a little bit under that. His saving grace is being experienced at returns, and that requires a lot of quick thinking and stuff. But if you don't have the legs to get you downfield and just that raw speed that an Adrian Killens has, it's really not going to bode well for you. I think he has the least likely chance of catching on to an NFL roster out of all these players. Greg McCrae is actually my second least on that. And that's because basically he's the size of Warrick Dunn without the Warrick Dunn killer instinct. You're undersized running back, and their measurables were almost identical as far as height and weight, going into the league. And he tends, and most scouting reports, as they say, he tends to hesitate a little bit at the line. So, you need to have that killer instinct to make up for lacking in measurables and on other parts of the physical side. Wearing the black and gold goggles a little bit, you expect a lot of things from these players. We've seen them for a number of years. We've grown attached to them. We really like them. They've shown great work on film. But NFL, as we know, is a different monster, and they're looking for very specific things. Blake Bortles gets drafted third because he was 6'5", and was built like a tank. That really set him apart. That physical aspect of a player really helps. That's what's putting Jacob Harris into the conversation and making his film less relevant. The fact that he drops a lot of passes, the fact he's 6'5" and 219 pounds makes him attractive enough that a team may take a flyer on him.
Yeah,
but
that he can take hits from guys of similar size.
Yeah, the NFL is the biggest and fastest and strongest out there. So you need a guy who can handle that. And that's why those bottom three guys, Williams, Anderson, and McCrae, I don't see, unfortunately, I don't see an NFL future for them.
Murph, let me switch gears over to you. The NFL draft, I'm pulling up the date here. It's
April 29th.
Yeah, it's okay. So 22 days from when we're recording.
In Cleveland.
In Cleveland, Ohio, Andrew Gluchov.
My hometown.
So,
is Kevin Costner going to trade the draft picks?
God, I hope not.
So what do these guys do now in this last 3 weeks leading up to the draft? What do they do to get themselves prepared for this, moment where that hopefully a lot of them will have, and then, or if not, if they don't hear their name called, they'll be in the UDFA market. Right.
I mean, and I think we know at least 3 players are being called. Richie and Aaron are going to be top 50 picks, and then Tay Gallen will fall in somewhere after that. They will spend their time continuing to work out and refine skills, hopefully maybe hold individual either Zoom calls or workouts with teams, and just prepare for the draft that way. I do want to say, just doubling back on what we talked about, it's not that Marlon Williams had a bad pro day. Marlon Williams is not a fantastic athlete. Marlon Williams is actually, though, a really good football player who at 5'11", 215 has a good wide receiver's body in today's NFL. This is not the league where you want everybody to be 6'4", 220 anymore. I have compared him numerous times to Deebo Samuel, who is more explosive, yes. But and I'm surprised that, again, as much as I don't care about pro day results, because they're all unofficial, they're all not timed, they're all hand timed. They're not official in any sense. Everyone's going around to different scouts and picking out their best times and putting that on social media. But I'm surprised he didn't run the 3-cone drill just to kind of showcase his shiftiness. I would like to have gotten some sort of marker there. But Marlon Williams has a future in the NFL. Like I will not take a pro day result as a indicator that he doesn't, because he has the body and the ability to fight off tacklers and the route running skills to do so, and the hands. We all talked about that. And the height doesn't bother me at all because he's got 215 on him. That like you can get that guy in space and he's going to fight off guys. The Jacob Harris is not just the hands thing that's the problem. It's the route running. It's the ball tracking. Andrew's suggestion that he moves to tight end is probably a good idea, because he's really good at high pointing the ball. Like he does good jobs. He does good work in the end zone when he's getting a chance for balls that are lofted up there. But when he's running down the field in like go routes, he does not know how to track the ball over his head. And
yeah, he's had a couple of times where it's been really, I mean, for lack of a better term, he's just been awkward at tracking the ball.
Yeah. And again,
when he's gone deep a couple of times.
Part of it is because he's only played football for a handful of years. We already know he's a great athlete. He's a two-sport guy. Played soccer before he played football. And he's very, very raw at football. I mean, he's admitted that in years, in multiple years now. He's still raw. But I just wanted to say, like, I think Marlon Williams kind of is who he is athletically, and it's not a great athletic skill set, but his hands, his body, that includes his height and his route running, should make him a spot somewhere in the NFL. Because you don't need to be 6'3", 220 anymore. You really don't. There's a lot of guys in this league who've shown that. He's got a fine NFL body. What he doesn't have he does not have elite athleticism. So the issue is, can he break like really good corner press? Can he, break, good defenses other than just sitting in zones?
And let me jump on that a little bit more to add to that, and this hurts him a little bit, but if he can do individual workouts, he can make up for it. Josh Heupel's offense did not showcase tight route running. It was a lot of wide receiver screens or run it downfield and just try to outleg or maybe a stop route.
Well, they're all running option routes. They're all running they're either cutting the route because they're either reading their man, right? So they're all reading their man and either deciding to cut their route or go. And like that's why there's no one's really like Gabe Davis wasn't a fantastic route runner coming out of UCF either, because it's the system. The system doesn't really desire that of you. But I think Marlon is inherently a good route runner because of the ways he's had to line up all over the field and the things he's done in the middle of the field, which I think have shown more of his running ability than someone who's split out at the X the entire game.
Right.
And the other thing is blocking ability. There was one point early in the year they were lining him as an extra backer, an extra running back in the backfield as a lead blocker, and it worked, and it worked really well. Mm-hmm. That could be one of his big saving graces. I mean, that's helped guys like Jarvis Landry break into the league, who is also an undersized wide receiver. In fact, he's actually a little less bulky than Marlon Williams, and he wasn't fast either. He was physical, and he made up for it. So, I mean, maybe I'm being a little harsh on Williams, but I mean, he needs some individual workouts. He needs a chance to say, you know what, don't let my measurables work against me. Much like Jacob Harris on the opposite way, where his measurables are doing everything to help him.
Well, I think I'm butting in only to say, like, again, people should understand that all these numbers are unofficial. Literally, kids were going around to different scouts and ask them for their times, and then they would just pick out the best time and they would write that down.
Well, in the case of Williams, they didn't have the right time originally. They actually shaved 300ths of a second off. It went or 400ths. It went from a 4.62 to a 4.58 or a 4.59. And so I mean, this isn't the combine. They don't have the laser. There's always that human element. There's always a chance of getting it wrong.
And last week me and Eric said, and I agreed that because I was on my horse about how this doesn't matter. And for guys like Hagowan, it does matter because no one has seen him do any football activities under public eye in more than a year or almost whatever. It's been a long time. Whenever the whole thing started, God, where's the time gone? But also, you could see that it helps Jacob Harris because I think, like Drew said, he goes for a guy being completely off the radar to at least being interesting enough as like just a pure athlete to see if there's something here. And I don't even know if that gets him in the 7th round. I still think that he could probably go undrafted. The guy who ran the fastest 3-cone drill. Everyone's flipping out about Jacob Harris's 3-cone drill, which I think was like 6.51, right? It's a stupid number. People are going to want to talk to Jacob Harris to see him do that thing again, because that 6.51 doesn't make sense. And if he does it again, great. But somebody ran like a 3-cone drill at like 6.28 in the combine that was like officially timed, and that guy wasn't drafted either. He was a UDA and never played in the NFL. But I think because of the numbers he put up, he's become interesting enough, not as a football player, but interesting enough as an athlete that people think they can maybe.
Well, and that's a great point.
Possible.
That's the thing. That's the thing with him is he may not get drafted just if he does at all. And I'm not convinced necessarily he gets drafted, but if he does, it's because of an athlete, not because he's a wide receiver. It's just kind of like that's got Bill Belichick written all over that, doesn't it? Like he just takes him at the end and then he'll figure it out where he's going to use him. He might use him at defensive line with knowing Bill. But let me back up what Murph's saying about Marlon. If Jacob Harris let's say hypothetically, gets drafted before Marlon Williams, that pretty much exposes the fraud that is this pro day and combine stuff. Because I'm sorry, Marlon Williams is a better football player, period. And I think if we're going to nitpick 40, and I get all that, the guy's a football player. At the end of the day, that has to count for something. So basically, if that happens, whoever does that, that's why we see all these guys get fired afterwards in the NFL. So,
well, it comes down to the film. It always comes down to the film. Like, are these, what do you see on the tape, and what do you see from the individual interviews? I think that's
now. Also, it's also worth pointing out Marlon's coming back from an injury, right? Didn't he have a foot injury as well?
He had a foot injury that I believe he had surgery on right before the bowl game.
Right. Yeah. So that might be, to me, that's a bigger question than what happened on the pro day. Now, maybe maybe partly why he didn't perform as well. Is he 100%? I don't know. I would assume he is. Maybe he'll say he is, but is he?
I don't know.
100%?
I don't think any of us know how bad that injury is.
And I think that's the thing that could cost him rounds or maybe not be drafted more than the pro day, I think.
Well, did we see any hint of that, like in the pro day? Like, I don't think so.
No, it wasn't like he was hobbling around. I mean,
right. By the way, yeah. So he missed the USF game as well because of the injury, but he actually played through that at least for one game. He actually played in a game with that injury at least for 1 week, I know. So and he's always been productive. So, Anyway,
last question on this. That it'll be a rapid fire for all three of you. I'll start with you, Drew. Let's set the over under at 3.5 UCF players drafted in the NFL draft. You picking the over or the under, Drew?
I'm going to take the over. You have Robinson, you have Grant, Tay Gowan should be drafted. I think Trey Nixon has an excellent chance to be drafted. And someone may take a flyer on Jacob Harris just for a sheer freak athletic ability. And Marlon Williams can still maybe hang around in the late rounds, in 6 or 7. I think after meeting with teams individually, he may, get his way back in. But the other guys, I don't think so. But I think over 3.5.
Eric?
I'm going to go under. I feel like we're going to pump this up the closer we get to it, and everybody's draftable, and then we'll realize, well, maybe not really. I would say Robinson and obviously, and Grant are the locks. I hope Gowan gets drafted. I'm not going to say who I know the third guy is. Could it be Gowan because he's defensive back? Could it be Trey Nixon or Marlon Williams? I could buy that because wide receivers, teams will go after wide receivers. And if you could prove you could be a receiver, but I'm going to go 3. I think they get no more than 3.
Murph?
No, it's over. Gowan will certainly be drafted. That's actually not, I would be shocked if he doesn't get drafted. I was shocked. And then, I'm going to go over. I think Trey Nixon probably finds a home before Jacob Harris. I think I would be actually a little surprised if someone spent a 7th round pick on Jacob Harris. I think they would be more willing to sign him as a UDFA. So that's like my thing is like, I'm watching to see if he actually gets drafted because I don't think he will. But I think obviously he's going to be like on top of people's lists as soon as Mr. Irrelevant's called.
Watch Bruce Arians swoop up and grab him and get him over to Tampa to work with Tom Terrific over there. God, watch that happen.
So you all have Trey ahead of Marlon. You all have Trey then ahead of Marlon getting drafted here? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Yeah. They're going to go with the long speed and athleticism over the more tougher, smaller body. But yeah, I understand. I just made the argument about Marlon having a good infield body. They're going to go with the athleticism and speed of Trey Nixon over the Marlon Williams is sort of less than impressive athleticism. That's all.
Trey's the complete package. He's got speed, he's got size, he's got hands. He may not be quite. His hands may not be quite as good as Marlon Williams, but he's got speed. He's got prototypical size. I mean, he's got really everything they're looking for. He's kind of like a jack of all trades, master of none.
I think Trey's got excellent hands. It's just that he didn't, maybe his catch range is a little bit less than that of Marlon, but that's because Marlon is an alien in that respect, I think. But anyway, speaking of drafts, all right. UCF had a basketball player in his name in the NBA draft this week. Isaiah Adams announced on his Instagram that he is entering his name into the 2021 NBA draft while maintaining his eligibility. I'll just read his statement. After spending time speaking with my family and coaches, I've decided to enter my name into the 2021 NBA draft while maintaining my eligibility. Playing in the NBA has always been a dream of mine. I hope to learn a lot through this process, and I thank Knight Nation for all of their support. Charge on, Isaiah Adams. Now, he is maintaining his eligibility. Now, Darren Green Jr. did this. Taco Fall did this. Murph, I think Colin Smith did this too. Where you enter your name in, you go through the evaluation process. They give you the grade. They basically give you, here's what you do well. Here's what you need to work on. And then you can withdraw your name prior to the draft. And so remind me, Murph, what are the key dates here that we're talking about with the NBA
So the
draft?
key dates are players have up until May 30th to apply for the draft and without signing an agent or whatever. And then if you want to come back and you don't sign an agent, you want to maintain your eligibility, you have until 5 p.m. on July 19th to come back and pull your name out of the draft, because the draft is 10 days later, I believe on July 29th.
Okay. What do we think? Is this the classic, just like the other guys, just testing the waters at this point? Do you foresee a team possibly taking a shot at Isaiah?
No, but I don't know. But I don't know Isaiah's situation. As I've said with all of these, we talked about this last year with Colin and Darren, and when Taco did this too. We don't know these players as people and their personal lives. So if it's best for Isaiah to start getting a pro contract somewhere overseas, most likely, and start earning money more than staying in school, then I totally understand that. I mean, people who understand Isaiah's story, it's been very well documented. He did not have the smoothest upbringing. He dealt with homelessness growing up, and so he was certainly not born with a silver spoon. So you just don't know what kind of positions these players are in, and the possible the impact of just money now, what it could mean to them. And so I would never take this for granted. I don't think we should just push this off as he'll never go, because you don't know these people as people. You only know them as basketball players. Mm-hmm. That said, it would be, for all we know, it would be surprising. Players do this. And by the way, every player should do this. CJ Walker should do this. Darren Green should do this again if he can. Tony John. I don't care. Anybody could do this. There's no risk in this. There's no risk. And this year, hopefully by June, you might be able to meet with the evaluator face to face, and have more contact this year than last year when we were in the early stages of the pandemic. And none of these guys could talk to anybody in person. So I have no problem with this. No one should have a problem with this. And all the basketball players should do this, because there's no risk to this. And it's great to have more knowledge, because when you do want to come out for the NBA draft, let's say you're a senior or whatever, those people you talk to during this time could remember you. You make those connections that helps you out down the road when you really do want to start your pro career.
Right. All right. Well, whatever happens with Isaiah, obviously hoping the best for him. Selfishly, I think, certainly I as a fan, and I think everybody else as a fan really hopes that he, gets his evaluation and then has to come back for UCF. But whatever happens for him, I think that's, like you were saying, Murph, that's the best that he deserves. And if we only got 1 year of Isaiah Adams, hey, that's fine. It's better than none, certainly. But again, we'll be keeping track of his path toward the NBA. And if he comes back, obviously we'll know by July. So, all right. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the little grab bag, everything else that we had talking about. Gabe Decamps joined Eric Lopez from the UCF men's tennis team, who's now in the top 10 in the country. We've got that, women's tennis, soccer, lots to update you here on the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast as we wrap up this show. Stick around. Be right back. We're back on the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. It's a full house. Elo's here, Murph is here, Drew's here, and of course yours truly. You can follow us on Twitter, UCF_Banneret. Let's dive right into our grab bag here, because it was, again, another busy weekend. Even though a lot of the spring sports are starting to wind down, we still have a lot to talk about. We start with men's tennis, who boosted themselves, Eric Lopez, into 9th in the ITA rankings. What a week it's been for them. They going through this stretch of playing ranked teams, where we talked about it a little bit last week, but just to recap, right now they're 15-3, and they have won 6 in a row, all against. I'm wrong. 7 in a row, all against ranked teams, including beating South Florida on Saturday in 7. Well, of course, in 7, 4-3, but and then beating number 25 Tulane at home 5-2. Their next match is Sunday at 1 at home at the USTA against UNF before they play number 29 Wichita State. But they've vaulted themselves into the ITA top 10. And the thing that everyone forgets too is that the ITA is kind of like the RPI. It's a mathematical formula,
except a lot better.
Except a lot better. So this was a big move by them this week, wasn't it?
It is. It's a landmark. Top 10 team in the country. This is kind of where they're a national title contender. This is a team that, what a run they have been on. And one of the big reasons why they are a top 10 team right now in the country is because they have one of the top players in the country in Gabe Decamps, who's number 4 in the country in singles and is on track to be maybe the greatest tennis player in program history. And as I said last week, right now is your UCF Knight Male Athlete of the Year. I had a chance to catch up with Decamps earlier to talk about this run for him and the team, plus as well as how he ended up coming from Brazil to UCF. Here now, Gabe Decamps on the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast.
I'm doing very good, thank you. Just practicing a lot, focus for our next match. Thank you so much for having me.
So what's it been like this season for y'all? You're in the top 10 now in the polls. You've been on a roll. Just talk about what has it been like as a team?
It's been incredible. We're in a row, obviously, but I'm very happy about the guys, how we are competing, how close we are together as a team. So every practice we're super intense, and I'm very, very proud of everyone. To achieve this top 10, first time in the history. So right now we just gotta keep working and keep finding new goals. You cannot never stop working.
We're speaking with Gabriel Decamps here on Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. What about your own game? What has been you're having a great season last year, obviously before everything got shut down. But this year you've taken it to a different level. You're ranked number 4 in the country. You've been beating ranked teams after ranked players after ranked players. How has your game grown this year?
It's growing a lot. I've been in the fall. We didn't have many tournaments, just one. So we worked a lot with John and Georgie. We're working super hard. We're super intense. Just trying to find the solutions in my game. Just cutting some mistakes that I was doing and just trying to improve every single day. And right now, all the work is paying off, and obviously we're continuing to work hard. So I'm super proud of myself for achieving everything what I'm achieving, and also mentally, it's a big change for me. And I'm improving better on the competitive side of the game, the mental part, which is one of the most important things. So I'm just happy with that as well.
Was there a match or a moment where you just felt like everything was clicking and that your game was at a different level and that confidence that you have to be successful clicked in either this season or last season?
I mean, this season personally, it was the match against Texas A&M. I played against a French guy, Vachereau. He was ranked number 4 at the time, and I beat him straight sets, and I really didn't play my best game. So that's for a tennis player, that's huge. When you don't play your best game and you still manage to be a guy that is top 5 in the country. So right there, I saw that, oh my God, my level is very high, and this was the moment where I saw that I don't have to play well every match to be able to win. I was like, okay, let's go every match, and the level is there. So this was the match personally for me.
You're ranked number 4 in singles. What was your reaction when you found that out the first time? Any reaction to that at all? Is it a big deal? No, dude. Do you block that off? How do you kind of? What was your reaction on that?
I mean, I was obviously pretty happy, But at the end of the day, it's just a number. It doesn't really matter what is your ranking, because it's something that can change, and any week it can change, So you just gotta be focused mentally, just step by step, and in the end of the day, it's just a number, and you have to keep improving yourself as a person, as a player as well.
As a team, how have you grown? You've been all pretty much together now for a little while. Was there extra motivation because of how last year ended, obviously, where the season cut short? It seems like you all have a purpose. You're determined this year as a group there and have that confidence as a team. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate. Yeah, I mean, last season we were doing pretty well as well, but it was caught short. And this year we just, with Kento, the new player, we just decided to compete every match as a team, not as an individual. Just as a team, everyone just screaming "Go Knights," supporting each other, and no matter what the score is, being loud, it works a lot. So as a team, we were just dedicated to push each other to the limits. Every practice, no matter what we do, just give our best, do it for ourselves. Do it for our friendship. I mean, we're being super close as well outside the court, which is something that's the chemistry is very important, in a team. So this is what really clicked in our team right now.
Take me back to being in Oklahoma, Norman, Oklahoma. You're playing at Oklahoma. That's where Coach Roddick came from, obviously, and built that program. What was that like? Was that did he kind of bring that up at all? Was that even brought up, the fact that you're back where Coach Roddick used to coach? Because that was a big storyline around college tennis. Did you guys was that a bigger deal, or was it just another match?
I mean, it was a big deal, because we know what Coach Roddick did there. Obviously he had a lot of success, and we would see the coaches that were there. They have the old coaches, and Roddick was one of the best coaches, I think, in the history of the program. So for us, it was a big deal. I mean, everything what he builds there, and he's trying to build it here. So it was very special, that win. I think for him, it was pretty special as well. He was very, very proud of us. So it just means that he's in the right place right now, and that we're improving as a team. And UCF is just getting bigger and bigger in every single sport, not just in tennis. So, I mean, our program is developing into a top program. So that's very special.
We're speaking with Gabe Decamps here on Black Gold Banneret Podcast, ranked number 4 in college tennis singles. The team, UCF, ranked 9th in the latest polls, your highest ranked there. Let's talk about how you ended up coming to UCF. Give us the story there. Obviously, you're from Brazil, but how did you end up at UCF?
I ended up because Coach Roddick, he traveled to Brazil actually to see me and my parents and talk about the project of UCF. He told me how it would be like me being part of the team, and he really convinced me that it was the right choice to do, because obviously he's been around the best tennis player in the world, so he knows a lot about tennis, and that seduced me to come to UCF.
What was your impression when you first visited the campus?
I was impressed. It's so beautiful. I really like the campus. It's very has a lot of nature, a lot of trees, so I really enjoy it, and the people are super, super nice. Obviously, it's a huge campus, but I mean, you feel at home when you're at UCF, so it's very special.
You started making an impact right away, especially your sophomore year. You made all conference. You participated in the NCAA singles. You went 18-10 that year in singles. And then your junior year, you became the first ever All-American in the program history. Just talk about the growth from your freshman year to your sophomore and the junior year, and as you were learning and taking those strides.
I mean, I was a grind, man, to be honest. I was as a freshman, it's very hard to come in as a freshman because college tennis is a lot of pressure, so you need to mature, be mentally strong. But from then to now, I have a different mentality. And obviously, I worked super hard to get where I am today. I mean, we worked very hard. I mean, I was working by myself in the summer, when the coach are not there with you, you have to work by yourself if you want to get to the next level. And I put in the work, and now everything is paying off.
You also play doubles, obviously, what you have to do in college tennis. You've had some great partners you play with. Grassi in particular, you guys have always had great chemistry there. Talk about playing doubles. And you've had to play with different guys, Trey, Grassi, others. But the mindset when you're playing doubles versus when you're playing singles.
I mean, it's very different, because you have to connect with your partner, obviously, have that intensity, that connection that flows together in the match. And I mean, I play with Juanpi. I mean, I have the chemistry with him. Like, he's the type of guy that I like to play with because he hits pretty big from the baseline, and that helps me personally in my game. And with Trey, I mean, he's an amazing doubles player. We won some good matches, but the chemistry with him and Boggy, it's different. It's like me and Juanpi. I mean, we have it's a different connection that you have to put them together because it flows. So I mean, doubles is super important. I mean, we won some important doubles matches this season, especially against Wake Forest, and that helped us a lot to get the wins.
Talk about playing at Lake Nona, their home there. What is it like? It's such a special place there, beautiful facility. What has that been like? And I'm sure, when you saw it the first time you came, you're like, yeah, that's a pretty cool place. I want to play there.
I mean, that facility is amazing. I mean, it's super nice. The facility is amazing. It's super nice. It's also close to they have some lakes there, so it makes a good vibe around the court. So I love to play there, and also the courts are amazing. I mean, nothing to complain. It's just positives to play there.
Take me through last fall. You're playing in a major tournament here that's held at Lake Nona. It was indoors, and you get to the final, and you see your buddy, Trey Hildenbrand. And we had him on right after he won the title, and he said it was kind of weird because you guys are tight friends, right? I think you were even roommates at some point, or
yeah, we were roommates. Yeah.
All right, so what is that? What was that like to face your guy? It's your friend. You know him well, but he knows you well.
I mean, it's very, very tough. I personally hate to play against my teammates because they have all the, he knows how you play. And sometimes it has an advantage because the guy knows how you play. So it's very hard. And sometimes you just don't want to react in some ways, be loud because, you're afraid of what he's going to think. So it's very complicated, But, I mean, sometimes it happens and you have to accept it and just compete and forget that he's your friend or that you guys are teammates and just try to play your game. And after the match, again, it's a friendship, it's your teammate. So, I mean, it's very, very difficult.
It was the ITA National Fall Championship. It was nationally televised. It was on ESPNU.
Yeah.
Was there a sense of pride in that not only you were both representing UCF, but here you are on ESPNU? At the time, there wasn't a lot of tennis going on because of everything that was going on in our climate. And here you are. You're both on TV on ESPNU representing UCF.
I mean, yeah, that was incredible. I mean, for UCF, that's big, having two guys in the final of such a huge tournament. So it was big time, and that just showed us that our level was there already, and all the hard work we're putting in, it's paying off right now as a team. So it just proves even more that the Knights are coming strong.
Did you get confidence, even though I know you didn't win the tournament, but did you get confidence just getting to that final? Because that's an illustrious tournament. Did that give you some confidence and maybe some momentum heading into the rest of not only the fall, but obviously into this year?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it gave me a lot of confidence to work on many aspects. I mean, that defined that I lost. I learned a lot from that match. So I think it was very important for me to have lost that match, actually, to be able to learn from my mistakes. And right now I'm just pushing myself mentally to the limits So it helped me a lot, and it obviously gave me a lot of confidence because it's such a huge tournament.
You guys have had some dramatic wins. One in particular recently, the Wake Forest match, which came down to your match.
Yeah.
And you were down a set, and their player was ranked 13th in the rankings. You came back, won the second set tiebreaker. You won the third set. I've always been fascinated by this. Are you aware? Are you aware as you're playing what's going on around you on the courts? Is somebody telling you? Do you know that your match could decide this, or are you not even? I mean, like, take me through that. What is that like to be a part of that, where all of a sudden your match is kind of the decider?
No, I mean, I was fully aware of what was going on. I mean, you kind of have to be aware because, I mean, if you see your team down and you know it's gonna come to your match, you have to be louder. Like you have to have this attitude. Okay, man, like. We're down right here. I'm gonna push it. I'm gonna push to the limits. Like mentally, like be louder, be more intense. And the other guy starts to get a little tighter, and then the match turns around. And 1 point can change everything. So I knew that Trey won his match. So it was 3-2, and then Juanpi Grassi was up in the third set. And I knew I really had to win this tiebreak to give myself a chance to win the match. And this is what happened, man. It was just incredible to get that win.
For those who may not be aware, you participated in the Junior Davis Cup with Brazil, correct?
Yeah. Correct, yeah.
Compare that experience. Obviously, you're representing your country, so it's different in that regard. But from a team standpoint, very similar to the college game, right? Because you're kind of supporting each other. In college, obviously, you have a bigger roster than you would on a Davis Cup team, especially on a junior team. But compare that, because you've kind of thrived in these team competitions.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, from the Davis Cup, obviously represent your country is different, but I mean it's very similar because there's a lot of pressure involved. The teammates supporting you, and it's very loud. So there's a lot of pressure involved. So it's very, very similar. And I mean, college is just amazing because you build your friendship with your teammates. So it's like a family. So it's a little different.
No question. And you guys been out, like I said, on a real roll. You've beaten ranked teams after ranked teams. You beat Arkansas, SMU, Oklahoma State, Wake Forest, South Florida, Tulane, all back-to-back. I mean, Coach Roddick does not make it easy on you all, but I would assume that's why you're here. You love that challenge of playing that tough schedule every match, correct?
Correct. I mean, in sports, to be there, to be top 10, you have to be the best, So, I mean, we all we all want to play those teams, This is what we work for. We work to play against the toughest teams, the biggest challenge. That's what we work for. So, I mean, the schedule is just amazing to be able to play against those teams. Is just a blessing, and like whenever you play the best, you see where you're at. So this is just amazing to be part of this.
Describe what it's like being coached by Coach Roddick.
I mean, it's amazing. Sometimes it's tough because he really gets pissed, but I mean, overall, it's just amazing. You learn a lot from him. He knows a lot about tennis. He helps you a lot if you work hard, if you pay off, and he just gets very happy whenever we win. Or like he's just very straightforward type of guy. Like he's gonna tell you if it's bad, he's gonna tell you it's bad. So I like this type of personality, and it really matches well with the team right now.
As you were growing up, did you have a favorite tennis player that influenced you to play tennis? Like, what was it that got you interested in tennis, and did you have any favorites growing up or currently even?
I mean, I really like Del Potro. He's currently, unfortunately, he is injured, but I really like his mentality and how he plays. I think I can learn a lot from him.
Love Juan Martín Del Potro. You're right. He's kind of been cursed a little bit with all his wrist injuries and things like that. He won the U.S. Open in 2009, was a silver medalist in the Olympics in Brazil, in fact, the last time.
Exactly. Whenever he came back, yeah.
Yeah. Where were you when that Olympics took place?
I was in Brazil. I was watching it in Rio. I was in Rio watching it. It was an amazing experience.
Did you go to the event?
I did go to the event, yeah. I watched Djokovic. I watched some very good players.
What was that like? Yeah, what was that like to see them in person?
I mean, it was just amazing. I couldn't believe I was watching them. It was just wow, just see them. Like those guys are super good, and how they read the game, how they play the game, how mentally strong they are. It's just amazing to see those. You can learn a lot from those athletes.
How big is Gustavo Kuerten in Brazil?
He's very, very big. I mean, he's an idol there. he won 3 times the French Open, and he's such a nice guy. He's very, very humble, and he's just a legend.
Now, because of that, I mean, you've played clay, right? Before right? Have you played clay courts in the past in your deal?
I always played clay courts in Brazil, yeah.
Do you like it? To compare playing in clay versus hard courts, for those that may not be familiar with it?
Right now, obviously, since we play on hard, I personally like hard better, but I can play on clay as well. I mean, if I practice 2 weeks, I think I'll be good as well on clay.
That's pretty good. Moving forward here now down the stretch here as I kind of last questions for you. What is going to be the keys for you and the team to kind of continue this momentum? Obviously, I know you all have a lot of goals, conference championships coming around, and then obviously the NCAAs. What's kind of the goals there in maintaining this?
I mean, to maintain this, now we have to work even harder because now everyone wants to beat us, right? We're top 10. Everyone wants to beat us. So now is the time to be focused day by day, work harder, and just keep the same mentality. Okay, we're going to grind every single match, no matter who we play. No matter if we play Tulane or Wake Forest or UF, have the same mentality every match, and that brings the confidence for us as a team.
Pretty nice, too, to have the conference tournament in your backyard.
Oh, yeah, that's very, very nice. We don't have to travel. We have people that can come support us, the fans, so it's just amazing, and obviously playing our courts is an advantage.
No question, and hopefully you get to play more matches beyond that after that. But I know one match at a time. But I appreciate you taking the time. Hey, I just wanted to kind of congratulate you on all the things you've been doing as a team and as well as you individually. You're doing some great things. I don't know. I hope you're aware there are a lot of fans who become UCF tennis fans because of the success the team has had and the success you're having. So.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you. It's really a blessing for you to say those things, and that our team is being and then people are following our team. It's very, very important for us as well.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Good luck the rest of the way, Gabe, and we'll definitely talk down the road as well, man. Good luck.
Sounds good, man. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
And thanks again to Gabe Decamps for joining us here on the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Thanks to Ken Landis for helping us set that up. By the way, we've talked about media relations guy Jeffrey. Ken Landis right now, 2 top 20 teams in the country in tennis, and a men's soccer team ranked in the top 25. How about Kenny Landis, perhaps, as your UCFS Idea of the Year right now? The
demand for Kenny among the coaching staffs is going to be high.
High demand, big-time price there. But look, the tennis, Gabe Decamps is an awesome player, and you heard him talk about his growth in the game. He's a huge Juan Martin del Potro fan, which Decamps talked about in the interview. He was at the Summer Olympics when Andy Murray, Novak Djokovic, Rafael Nadal, they all played in there. He got to experience that. Really awesome. He's tremendous right now. There's no question in my mind he's going to be a pro either at singles and or doubles in the ATP Tour. There's no question about it. And this team, this is, as I've mentioned before, this team is a contender for the national title as a team, and Gabe's a national title contender in the singles, which we've never seen before in UCF athletics in tennis.
Well, guess what? This team doesn't have to leave the USTA tennis complex the rest of the season because they have 4 regular season matches to go. Sunday at 1 against UNF, Monday at 11 a.m. against Wichita State, and then next week, Memphis and Tulsa, the American Athletic Conference Championship from April 23rd through the 25th, again at the USTA National Campus, and then the whole NCAA Tournament is going to be at the USTA National Campus. So
home court advantage.
Home court advantage big time for UCF men's tennis right now, number 9.
I want to point out something to you guys. The 3 losses that UCF has is against number 1, number 7, and number 10. Those are the 3 losses. Florida, TCU, and Georgia, respectively. Yep. I mean, if that doesn't scream legit, I don't know what does.
I know. They are a legit title contender, I think. And 2 of those losses, too, Drew, came way earlier in the season.
So Florida was what, the first match?
Right, opening day.
Yeah, opening day. So this team, I think we can say that. I mean, not to say that Florida's not either, but they're better than they were at that time. So I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch between those two on that court, especially with UCF getting the home court advantage once again. On the women's side, they're 12-4. They lost a heartbreaker really at Oklahoma because as they split that Oklahoma road trip. They beat number 41 Oklahoma State 4-2, lost number 33 Oklahoma 4-1. They're back home this weekend, Friday, 2 p.m. against South Florida, and that's before they go to Tallahassee to face Florida State. But in the Oracle ITA tennis rankings for the women, they are 18th right now. A little bit of a disappointment in the fact that they couldn't, pull off the double, but that's a tough ask, isn't it, Eric?
Yeah. I wouldn't read too much into that. I mean, that's a tough split. That's a good split there. That's tough back to back. They're fine. They're going to be fine. You're going to have a little blimp here. You got 2 tennis programs right now. They're the favorites to win the American. That's the most important thing. And hopefully trying to get themselves in position to get as high of a possible seed and make a deep run in their respective postseasons. That's where we're at. This is the 2 top teams right now on campus. This is the team. We've talked about national championship contending programs. This is it right here this year.
Here they are.
2 tennis programs right here, and they don't need Coley Metrics to help them. So.
Gosh, don't throw shade on
the
good Dr. Wesley Colley.
That's 2. This is now turning into a streak. That's 2 weeks in a row, which he's taking shots at the Colley Matrix.
That's right.
Big news out of women's golf. They won their first tournament of the season, the Brickyard Invitational in Macon, Georgia. 11 over par in the final round for a plus 28 3-round total. That was good enough to get the victory. Anna Laura Collado finished tied for 3rd. Chinatsu Kobayashi finished tied for 5th. Freshman Camille Banzet finishing tied for 7th. So a bunch of individual wins for UCF. And as you look at their schedule, this was their last tournament prior to the American Athletic Conference Championship, which will be held at Pinehurst, North Carolina, at Pinehurst number 6, April 18th, 19th.
That's pretty cool. I mean, they're hosting US
really
Opens
cool.
there.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel.
So they're playing a U.S. Open course for the American Championship. Good on the American for getting that. And then the NCAA Regionals will be May 10th through the 12th. But congrats to Emily Marin and her crew getting their first win of the year. Their previous best finish was 6th this season at the Moon Golf Invitational. They were tied for first after one round of the Lady Gator Invitational. Finished 7th there. But, hey,
aren't they ranked now in the 20s too? Now, as a pro right this year, I believe.
Not 100% sure. I think that they're pretty close to it if they're not. But the schedule has been weird. They haven't played as many tournaments as they normally do, obviously, because of
28.
Whatever.
They're ranked 28th according to GolfStat rankings. That's who ranks the golf program. So they're 28th now after the win at Brickyard.
And GolfStats just like the ITA. That's a very
incredible.
That's a very rigorous computer ranking. So, and it goes straight to the data. So, we'll be waiting on them to see how they finish out. And they finished out the regular season. Now they head off to the postseason. All right, let's go to the Diamond, baseball and softball.
Oh boy, Murph!
Baseball, Murph.
Oh boy, yeah, you get it, Murph.
Conference play is underway. UCF baseball gets a split in Tampa against USF. Won the first game, won the last game, got swept in the doubleheader. 4 pretty close games, none of them decided by more than 4 runs. Thursday, again, it was Colton Gordon, right? I mean, Colton Gordon just continues to throw fire. 6 innings, 7 hits, 2 runs, struck out 8, walked 3, and David Litchfield got the save. UCF dropped the middle 2 games 6-2 and 3-1 before coming back to get the victory 3-0. But hey, they get a split to open conference play on the road. Good sign, treading water. Where are we at right now?
Yeah, I don't know if treading water is what you need right now. It's amazing to think, guys, we're halfway through the season. We're 7 weeks in. The season's halfway done. And I know conference play just started, but it's getting late early out here as it were. And this is a big series coming up.
Well
for
done,
UCF.
Yogi.
You're welcome. I got lots of them. Well, he's got lots of them. I just stole them. And this is a big series coming up for UCF because they've got Cincinnati. Cincinnati has not pitched well this year, and they just got swept by ECU, which is something that is going to happen to teams in the American because ECU is they are the rulers of the land here. But they need to probably win 3 out of 4 on the road here to get themselves straightened out before they face UCF back here at home the following weekend, because then ECU looms after. So this is an important series. This was a series against USF in this weekend that the UCF pitching deserved better. All four of them, all four starters did really well. Colton Gordon was obviously great on at the start again at the opener. But AJ Jones at the back end of Game 4 of that series threw 6.1 no-hit innings and was really good. David Litchfield had a couple of really good outings. Jackson Clare and Kenny Surwa I thought were fine. The issue here was the offense, and it's been the offense a lot this season where they have not hit well in timely fashion. We've talked about that on the show quite a bit. And it just seems this weekend especially, they chose to shoot themselves in their own foot a couple of times offensively. And I need to speak on this because it's now we've gone too far. Okay. I've talked about the ills of bunting on this podcast many times. And yet maybe the most flagrant violation of this happened on Friday in Game 1 of a doubleheader, in which UCF, was down 2 runs in the situation. It was first and second, nobody out in the 6th inning. The USF pitcher had just walked 2 batters, walk to start the inning with Josh Crouch up. So Josh Crouch is in a slump. He was going into that bat was 2 for his last 30. But those who've been following Josh Crouch knows that when he hits the balls hard. When he makes contact, he hits balls very, very hard. There was one point in the season where he was probably had the best exit velocity on this team for like 2 weeks, a 2-week stretch. UCF asked him to bunt, and it didn't go well. It went about as well as you would expect a slugger to do when bunting. He even bunted with 2 strikes and missed it. And UCF settled for nothing that inning. They got nothing that inning, and as sort of baseball gods would have it, they then got 2 runners past second base for the next 12 innings of baseball that day, almost as if the gods were as upset at UCF's hubris trying to bunt players over down 2 runs in the 6th as I was. Even more befuddling, but less penalizing was that on Sunday, in a game they were leading 2-0 in the 5th, Ben McCabe was asked to bunt with 2 men on and nobody out. Ben McCabe, who's 3rd in the conference in RBIs, was asked to bunt and with nobody out. He did bunt. He got the bunt down. A run then later scored on a sac fly. UCF went on to win 3-0, largely because of AJ Jones. But even though that worked there, doesn't anybody see how they are kneecapping their own offensive ceiling by asking their own sluggers to bunt? This has happened now for years. I will never stop saying how ridiculously stupid this is to lower your own offensive ceiling by asking your extra base bats to bunt. You're giving them up to move a runner up 90 feet. And sometimes they don't if it doesn't go right, then you're SOL. It is like Flames, like Madeline Kahn and Young Frankenstein. Flames are clean clue.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is as animated and takey as Brian Murphy gets.
Let him go.
Now.
Just let him go. Let him go.
Madeline Kahn and Clue. Flames out of the side of my face. Flaming. That's what I feel like. That is what I feel like. I don't know. I can't express myself. That this team, who is struggling offensively, chooses to then lower its own potential offensively for the sake of hoping to get a runner an extra 90 feet. And sometimes it doesn't work. God.
Tell us how you really feel.
I've been dealing with this way too long. I'm like Danny Glover and leave the weapon now. I'm like, this is like, I'm too old for this.
That's his Germans bombing Pearl Harbor moment.
Man.
Yeah, well, but unlike Germans bombing Pearl Harbor, I have my facts right. And this is a crime against baseball. Stop.
Again, he's rolling.
Stop bunting with the 3rd leading RBI man in the conference. Jeez.
I mean, this team is frustrating to say the least.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. What are we going to get from Cincinnati this week, Murph? Because I know that, yes, they got swept
on
by
to
ECU.
Cincinnati.
It's on to Cincinnati. Another road series, though. This is that long span with no home games. So you think can get a split out of this here, come home and start taking 3 out of 4? What do you think?
They're more talented. They're much more talented than Cincinnati. They should be able to get more than a split. I think a split would be the bare minimum you ask for this. They have, Cincinnati has a couple good pitchers, but you look up and down their roster, a couple of their stars have been bombed in multiple outings.
It's a must-win series. You got to start winning some of these series because
you got to win 3 out of 4. Like I said, it is getting late, and so you got to win 3 out of 4, and then hopefully come back home and start racking up some wins. I was talking to some people today, and everybody understands the talent on this team. This offense is loaded with talent. The pitching staff, with Colton Gordon and the upside of Jack Sinclair and the stability of an AJ Jones and Kenny Sarwa, and a bullpen that's got some good arms too. Maybe not as good as we've seen in the past, but still serviceable good arms. This is a really good team. And we say it week after week after week, they fail to live up to their own potential. And when they bunt with their third place hitter, it hurts that cause.
It hurts. Man. It hurts our feelings.
I can't imagine what
it hurts Murph deeply.
Imagine if Aaron Boone decides to bunt like Gary Sanchez. I feel like Murph would just lose his mind.
Yeah, no, that's what it was, right? Like it's like bunting Aaron Judge so you can get maybe a sac fly at bat later. They were up. They were ahead 2-0. They asked McCabe to bunt.
Oh boy, we got him going again. Well, here's the situation. UCF and USF are now tied for 4th in the conference at 2-2 through the first conference weekend. Wichita State and Tulane are both 3-1, and ECU's 4-0.
By the way, a quick aside, Houston losing 3 out of 4 at home to Wichita State. Man, Wichita State, watch out for that team. That could be, if you're looking for a second team out of this conference, that is the team right now.
That was a big surprise this weekend, too, so we'll keep an eye on that. Let's go to softball, Eric Lopez. Tulsa, man. Unfreaking believable. UCF softball goes to Tulsa, loses 3 out of 4. One of them by only 1 run, 2 of them by 4. They do get 1 6-1 win, but what is it about that freaking place?
Yeah, I mean, the softball now is 7-20 all time at Tulsa. They've lost 7 of the last 8. They lose 3 out of 4 here. The one that stings is the first game on Saturday. They had the lead, give up 2 home runs in the bottom of the 7th, and it's a walk-off home run. It just is what it is. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. They didn't play well defensively. They struggled at times in that series. It's not an easy park to play. The wind can be blowing out 1 minute, and then next inning it'll be blowing in. It's a goofy place. And they struggled. They didn't play well offensively pitching. Tulsa might be pretty good. They're usually pretty good. They always play well at home. But yeah, I mean, look, we all know Tulsa athletics. When UCF teams go to Tulsa, they go to lose, and that's no different than softball. So, UCF's only won 3 series all time at Tulsa. One of them, it took a 16-inning game to help win the series, and Shelby throwing 23 innings in 24 hours to win a series. So it takes some magical stuff to happen. For crying out loud, Brian Murphy lost his wheelchair there the last time he was in Tulsa. Come on.
And we've actually lost Brian Murphy altogether.
Yeah, I don't know where he went.
He went to just put his head down and scream at bunting. Anytime anybody says bunting, he's just gonna scream like the Man and what's that movie where the guy just screams yelling?
Network.
Yeah.
I'm as mad as hell, and I won't take it. I can't take this anymore.
We saw a new arm take the circle for UCF, I should say, Eric. Angelina DeVoe. She only threw 1 inning, gave up 3 runs on Sunday, but she's a lefty. We haven't seen a lefty for UCF in a long time, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got to go back to Mackenzie Hoon and, in the 13-14, Taylor Sawyer and back. Look, that was –
yeah.
I think that was one of those trying to spring in a surprise. Here's one of Murph's favorites, the opener. Trying to do an opener. It didn't work.
Okay. Yeah, Aaliyah White ended up pitching 4 innings in that game.
Here's the good news. We don't have to go back to Tulsa till May. So that's positive. And,
are they hosting?
Yeah.
Oh, they are.
Oh,
my God.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Maybe I'll try to tell the staff to see if they found Brian's wheelchair from when he lost it in the football game bet.
Is there an exorcist in the building? Is there an exorcist?
Listen, I wish college sports could be like pro sports. And so, like Tulsa has great teams and great athletics. Brutal city. Most boring city in the history of the United States. If we could trade it to Canada for Edmonton and a drink to be named later, be great. Let's just move.
Vancouver.
There
Or
you
just
go.
trade it for a 6-pack of beer and some maple
Right.
syrup.
Can't we just move Tulsa Athletics to a cool place
Molson or
like
Labatt?
Vegas? Let's just move it to Vegas. Instead of going to
Labatt.
Tulsa, go to Vegas. We all would actually enjoy going there. But no, we got to go to Tulsa. So unfortunately, they are worse the tournament. UCF's 2 games back in the standings, obviously in the league. That's significant. They got to bounce back. They have to bounce back this weekend at East Carolina. They need to take 3 out of 4 and just kind of, put Tulsa behind them. You don't want this to hang over. You don't want this to start kind of a bad trend here, because you got a monster series coming up the following weekend with Wichita State, who's on top of the league. So.
And by the way, another matchup with Florida in between those two.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they'll remember the last time we played them. So
that's in Gainesville now.
This is a gauntlet here, so this is a very important weekend. They must take 3 out of 4 against East Carolina. I cannot emphasize that enough. They must take it and kind of put Tulsa behind them, and that's all you could do. It's a blimp, but we shall see some good news, some good big UCF softball news should be coming out in the next day or so that we'll discuss next week.
Okay. What do we know about RPI and rankings right now at softball?
They're still drunk and worthless and should be gotten rid of. And I've been talking to Andrew. I think
37 in the RPI, by the way.
Yeah, look at some of the teams that are ranked ahead of them. Give me a break, including an Ivy League team that's not even supposed to be playing right now. Among others, you have George Washington, the great president. They're ranked in the 20s. I mean, I'm pretty sure if Brian played a game, he would be ranked in the top 25 RPI. I'm speaking to the NCAA committee chairman, by the way, on Thursday, and one of the topics is this, because there is a lot of talk. People have listened to me. There is a lot of talk in softball, and I don't know about baseball, but I think the RPI days are numbered in these sports. I think a lot of people are going to start following basketball and dump it.
I think you should continue ranting like Murph did earlier.
That's a hard top.
Wow.
No way. I can't top Murph on that. Sometimes you just tip your cap and say, yeah, you got that one.
Me and Elo have our own hobby horses. He rants about rankings and RPIs, and I rant about bunting. This is what
UCF did drop out of the
one.
Right. UCF did drop out of the rankings, Eric. The human rankings, that is. They dropped from 21st out of the NCAA.
One of the polls, they're still ranked 20.
ESPN college softball.
As Murph and I have said, rankings don't matter, especially this year where the sites are going to be predetermined. That's the other big news that's come out in baseball and softball.
Yes.
The host sites will be predetermined. So really, we don't have to stress about, hey, can this team host? Can they not? No, because it's going to go to the highest bidder. And we know who the highest bidder are. So, all that Danny White's idea about, football's the only sport it's not decided on the field. Bunch of hooey.
Wow, nice catch. Nice catch.
I would say, I don't think hooey was the
catch.
first word you were thinking of.
Thanks for not forcing the edit on that, Eric Lopez.
No, he has to keep the dump button close at hand.
Hooey.
This show has missed an edit. It's been like almost a year. Like I'm gonna make that happen at some point soon.
No, don't.
Maybe the week of the Oscars. Maybe it's got to.
No, because then I'm gonna forget it and it's gonna be bad.
Just do it when Jeff's not paying attention.
No, have to pay attention the whole time. Let's talk about some good news, shall we? How about rowing? They had 4 wins at the Sunshine State Invite, not far from you, Andrew, in Sarasota at Nathan Bender's
Did you cover
Park.
that, Andrew? You should have gone.
Had I known they were going to be there, I would have. That's a little more than a 10-minute drive from me.
Let's see. We had the Varsity 8 defeated Clemson in their race at 7:31.67. Let's see. First Varsity 8. Second Varsity 8 finished second to Miami. Varsity 4 also got a W, and third Varsity 8 as well got a win. So,
by the way, I want to make a proclamation here. We need there's the America's Cup is this big sailing event. The Americans used to dominate this. They don't anymore. We need to hire Becky Kramer to bring back the America's Cup.
Well, that's a whole different ballgame. That's like actual yachting.
I think she could do it. She could do anything. She's magnificent. Every year, my point is every year, it doesn't like they're just an oiled machine. They're an oiled machine.
Well oiled, not just oiled.
I've got a good rowing bit for you here too, Eric Lopez. So on UCF's rowing roster is a starboard rower by the name of Amy Van Ryn.
Ooh.
She is the cousin
Yep.
of Ashley Van Ryn.
Yeah!
So the former UCF softball player who's now a member of the USA National Team Handball Squad.
That's good.
So yeah, we wanted to give a special.
We got to get
shout
Coach
out
Kramer out here. We got to get her on.
We do, yeah. We only get her on every time. Well, we only get her on every time she wins the American in rowing every single time.
So really, it's only the only thing that stopped that is a pandemic.
I know. Yeah.
Now, gentlemen,
Drew.
I want to point out that the NCAA championships also just happen to be in my backyard.
Woo!
In Sarasota?
In Sarasota, Florida, at Nathanson Benderson Park, which was the home for the 2017 World Rowing Championships. So very nice, long.
It sounds to me like Andrew's petitioning to cover that.
Sounds to me, Andrew, like you're going to be making your way, making a little 10-minute drive later.
That's all right
year.
with you, Murph. I know
Hey,
you get priorities on credentials.
It's Memorial Day weekend. I mean, it works out perfect.
Okay.
Are you cool, Murph, with letting Andrew cover rowing for you there?
Yeah. Water doesn't mix well with the wheelchair.
You know, there's no water in Tulsa.
Oh, what are we? I thought we were talking about Sarasota.
Amy Van Ryn, by the way, is on that first varsity 8, by the way. So congrats to her and her
It's a
teammates
great
on that,
tidbit.
on
That's
that
a great tidbit there.
Yeah. So, and again, that, like you said, that the NCAA rowing championships. Oh, wait, I had it up there and I lost it. I had it. But yeah, I'm fully expecting, I do fully expect you to be there, Drew, to cover the NCAA championships. May 28th, 29th, and 30th is when they take place. The American championships take place May 16th, but they're in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. So, but again, congrats to Coach Becky Kramer and her team for another good showing out here in the Sunshine State. Over to soccer, which is where we're going to be. Well, we're not quite going to be wrapping up. We have one other sport that we want to talk about. But men's soccer, they just continue to roll, don't they? This is now 5 victories in a row. They beat SMU 2-1 at home. Come back and get the victory too, Eric. They were down 1-0 at halftime. Luca Dorado scored to tie it up, and then in the 75th minute, our boy Gino Vivi with a tally of his own to give UCF the 2-1 win. They sweep SMU.
Yep.
Sweep SMU this season, and are now sitting at 6-3. This is the hottest team in the nation right now.
They're now ranked in the top 25 as a world. It's remarkable. It's one of the most remarkable jobs I've ever seen a UCF coach and do UCF athletics history. When you think about what Scott Calabrese has had to deal with in this season, come into the season playing in the spring without, obviously, you're arguably the greatest player in the modern history in Cal Jennings, who's playing pro. So you got to replace his production. That's not easy in a normal year, let alone a shortened season. You lose Louis Perez one match into the season. He signs a pro contract, so he's gone. You lose Yannick Ertl, who is right now, in my opinion, the 3rd greatest goalkeeper in UCF soccer history, to an injury for multiple matches.
Yeah.
You lose Yanis Learman, who's their best defensive player for a period of time for an injury. They start off slow. They look dead in the water. I'll be honest. I remember them losing at Tulsa, talking to our friend Trace Trelko, and I'm thinking, hey, maybe this is the time to just play the young guys and just let's worry about the fall. Well, thank God Scott Calabrese doesn't listen to that nonsense because they've turned it around. And here they are. They got some help. They've played some great soccer. And now Tulsa quietly has lost the last 2. They lost at Temple over the weekend, and they lost at SMU earlier this week, 3-0. As a result, if UCF gets a win on Friday night at Memphis, they win the 3rd straight American Conference regular season title and get to host a tournament. I did not think that was possible a month ago. Credit to you, Jeff. You said this was plausible. I thought it was crazy, but here they are, one match from pulling it off.
Yeah. And they've been doing so. I mean, we saw how the goal scoring really stepped up, but they've been doing it in really close games the last couple weeks too. Yeah. And I would love to ask Scott, and I hope we get the chance to do this at some point, how the 1 game a week thing has actually helped. Because in a season like this, that rough start that you were talking about, that could have really snowballed quickly. But they had a chance to get healthy, Yannick was out for, I think, 2 matches.
Yep.
And but they got healthy and they figured out the chemistry. Now they play Memphis on Friday at 8 p.m. in Memphis, like you said, with the conference championship on the line. And the semifinals of the American starting on April 5th. That's a Thursday. So yeah, this is
amazing.
Opportunity for them to finish. They were 1-3.
Yep.
And now they have a chance to finish 7-3.
Amazing.
And they're in the top 25. Just an amazing
in a
run.
strong league. It's not like
Yes.
it's a cupcake league. This is a strong league. It's a remarkable job. I'm shocked. If they could pull it would be, I think, his best coaching job of the years he's been here by far, if he could pull this off. Like, he better be a unanimous coach of the year. Like, they should even allow him to vote for himself. That's how good of a job he's done.
Just pray they don't play Tulsa in the postseason.
Oh,
As long as, especially it's in Tulsa, which that's why that's what, you joke, Andrew, they need to win this because, if they lose to Memphis and Tulsa beats South Florida, then the conference tournament is in Tulsa. So.
Right. And Memphis is is basically the basement of the American, and USF is the team right above them.
Yeah.
Right. So now on the women's side, so we've talked about how this year has really been a struggle for UCF women's soccer. Of course, they were scheduled to play SMU on March 28th. That match got officially listed as postponed.
Yeah, it's done. I can tell you.
Yeah, they're not going to make that up.
Yeah.
However, here's the situation for UCF women's soccer. They have 1 game left on Sunday, 1 p.m. at home against Houston. All right. Houston is third from the bottom of the league. They have only 6 points. They're 2-4 in the conference. UCF right now is at 2-3-1 at 7 points. So this is the opportunity for UCF. Right now they are tied for 5th in the league. They hold the tiebreaker over Temple head-to-head, who also has 7 points in the league. Remember, there's only 4 teams going to the American Championship. Right now, that's from 1 to 4, USF, Memphis, East Carolina, Cincinnati. Cincinnati has 9 points on the slate. They're 3-3. If UCF wins against Houston, and then if Cincinnati loses this weekend, or draws,
correct,
UCF gets the 4 seed. And this is important. Why? Cincinnati is playing USF
correct
on the 11th. So, and USF, by the way, they're having a monster season, 6-0 in the conference.
Well, and they need to get a draw. Undefeated. They need to get at least a draw to clinch having home field for the conference tournament.
Right. So USF is not going to have their car running in the parking lot here. They're going to try and play because they do know that Memphis could get them. But this is again, for all the struggles that they've had, they could get into the postseason right now.
Well,
and that's a big opportunity. I think that would be a pretty good achievement to salvage the season after all the struggles that they've been through, right?
Yes, and the other thing I'm going to add to this, because there's actually more development on this story, there's actually another way for them to get in, because the league has stepped in here. Because SMU has not been able to play, the teams are playing an uneven amount of matches. So the league has decided they're going based on points per match average, because UCF's a match short. You can't. It's an unbalanced deal here. So, for example,
are you talking about standing points per match?
Yes.
Oh.
So I've talked to the league about this, and I talked to our friend Derek Sharp, who is a play-by-play voice for South Florida in soccer and all that. So him and I have been exchanging messages. I've talked to the league. I won't mention the names, but they're kind of like the Adam Pearce of the American Conference, Murph, right? Like the Adam Pearce is the making decisions in WrestleMania, deciding to add Daniel Bryan at the last minute to the main event. Well, the Americans kind of following the same template here, without question here. So what they have decided is, because SMU can't play any matches and there's uneven matches, basically the team with the points average per match, top 4, will get into the tournament. So UCF can get in for the one scenario you just brought up. That's the simple one. Mm-hmm. They also can get in if Memphis were to win against East Carolina, because UCF would actually have a higher points average. They would be at 1.428 versus East Carolina's 1.37 in that scenario. So there are 2 ways for UCF to get in.
Assuming UCF wins.
Well, they have to. There is there's no other result. They have to win. They have to win. A draw, a loss is no good to them. The team that got screwed here is Houston, because by this process of the league deciding to do this, Houston is automatically eliminated, and so is Temple. And there are some people over there that think this is the league is trying to help UCF out and all this. You know, it's kind of like Edge and Roman Reigns. They're really mad that Daniel Bryan's involved, and they're kind of mad that UCF's involved. It's really ironic that this is all taking place on WrestleMania weekend. So here we are. That's the situation here. UCF has to win and then either have Memphis beat East Carolina, or the simple one, have USF get a draw or a win against Cincinnati, and then UCF will be in. And I think the more likely, they're both likely scenarios, because Memphis has to play to try to win, to hope to have some help to get the home field. But you're right.
And USF has to play.
Correct. So as long as UCF takes care of business against Houston, which that's the big question. They haven't played in a couple weeks. They've been inconsistent. Can they put it together here? Where is Houston's mindset going to be on this? Are they going to try to screw UCF out of this? Are they going to be motivated to play? Maybe they will. I don't know. It's going to be a dramatic Sunday, but those are what's at stake here on Sunday. And hopefully if you're UCF, you get in. I actually like the scenario of them getting in and playing in Tampa, because you don't have to get on a flight. You can just bus to Tampa for the conference tournament.
Right.
So
they would play USF in the first round.
Right. Well, either way, they're going to have a tough draw. They're either going to play USF or Memphis. So I would rather just take the bus trip to Tampa. They could have, they probably deserved the draw when they played at USF. There was a controversial call in the box that went against them and all that. But I would rather take the bus trip than try to fly to Memphis, which Murph could speak to, and that's not the easiest place to get to necessarily. So, plus the weather,
also a real house of horrors for UCF,
right? And the weather is a little colder in Memphis, and stuff like that.
We've already lost up there once earlier this year,
right?
So, it's one of the 3 losses.
Yeah,
so USF, Memphis, and Tulsa.
So that's the scenarios there, but the league has stepped in. And so that's the way how these 4 teams are going to be decided here. So let's see. Hopefully UCF can get a win and give themselves a chance, because, again, if they get a draw or a loss, their season comes to an end.
Right. All right. So need the win in their next game against Houston at home Sunday, 1 p.m. And
you like that, Murph? You didn't think I was going to go the whole show without a WrestleMania reference here.
I mean, it seemed like everything. It seemed like it was all backloaded. It just seemed like it was. It was a vomitorium, just keeps coming out at all of these wrestling. I would like to know how much of our audience knows who Adam Pearce is. He does. UCF _ Banneret, Jeff _ Sharon, Eric Lopez, Elo, Sports _ Murphy. Because I bet like maybe 5.
All I know is this. I thought Edge being upset was the maddest person I saw being mad when Daniel Bryan got at it. But seeing Murph go off on bunting, you topped Edge. Congrats, Murph. Congrats.
Well, they do call me the rated R superstar.
By the way, shout out to Parker Boudreaux at NXT TakeOver as a spectator for now.
We did it. We tied all of this into a UCF angle.
Pulled it all together. We have one last thing I want to give shout-outs to. UCF Track and Field. They were at the South Florida Invitational at USF on Saturday. Renia Jones broke her own freshman record in the 100-meter hurdles, posting a 13.35, so congratulations to her. We had Adrienne Adams won the discus throw with a 154-foot throw. So congrats to her as well. And a lot of top 10s and top 5s for UCF. So so it was Latasha Smith won the 400 meter with a 55.12. And then we had, let's see, what else? Did anyone else want? There was UCF athletes finished 2 and 3 in the triple jump. Kiara Lee and Ashira Collins, along with a bunch of other top 10s. So congrats to UCF Track and Field. They go to Coral Gables this weekend for the Miami Alumni Invite, April 9th and 10th, Friday and Saturday. Another good in-state tune-up. They do have one more home meet. It's a one-day meet on April 24th. You ever get the chance to go to a track meet? It's actually pretty cool. Really cool, because there's all kinds of stuff going on. So,
I have jokes. I have so many jokes. Self-deprecating jokes.
So congrats. Congrats to UCF.
Don't leave us standing here. Don't leave us hanging.
Instead, I'm just gonna segue by saying, Murph, AJ Bouye is a Carolina Panther.
Well, First, I like where Andrew's head's at. He knows where I'm going. Two, yes, we have UCF NFL news. AJ Boye's career continues. They're in North Kakalaki.
With Sam Darnold and company now.
The undrafted free agent.
Yes. What a career for AJ. Worked himself into, being one of the better corners, I think, for a little bit of a time there. And 72 career deflections. 29 years old, still playing.
By the way, it very much parallels Richie Grant, a two-star recruit who had very little offers coming out of high school, and he's going to work his way into being a second-round pick at worst, and AJ worked his way into being, I think, he had a year where he was an All-Pro.
Yeah. Signed a 5-year, $67.5 million contract back in 2017. And
he's done well. He's banked about, according to Spot Track, he's earned about just shy of $54 million in his career. When you combine salary and signing bonuses and all that jazz, I think he's done pretty well.
Yeah, that'll get you through. That'll get you
Two-star recruit, guys. Don't worry about the stars. Just get the players.
That's what we keep saying. That is what we keep saying. It's about player development. And congrats to AJ. Another year in the league. Awesome. So, all right. Let's wrap this thing up. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, UCF_Banneret, Facebook.com/Black and Gold Banneret. We will be covering the UCF spring game from stem to stern on Saturday as Murph rolls his eyes. But, Drew, I know you're going to be quite excited to be there. It's been a while since you've been in the press box at the Bounce House, but you'll be there for us, right?
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. 2020 was a weird year. It's the first year since 2001 I had not been to a game there during a specific season. So,
wow.
Unfortunate streak ended, but it's time to start a new one.
Hey, look, the Undertaker streak ended a while back, so it's okay. He did fine. So
someone
you'll
cue the really shocked face. That one guy with the shocked face.
The spring game, the game for the immortals.
Eric is spamming us with WWE references.
This podcast is no longer a UCF podcast.
He is junk balling them out
WrestleMania week. Fired up, even though it's a terrible card.
Follow Drew at StatBoyDrew on Twitter. You can follow me at Jeff_Sharon, Eric at Eric Lopez Elo, and of course Brian at Spokes_Murphy. And of course follow us. Make sure you
still believe in you, newsletter. Dylan Moore. We're not worried about your slow start.
Make sure you subscribe to our newsletter written by Jeremy Brenner every weekday, 9 a.m. You get the latest, UCF news delivered right to your email inbox. And of course, this podcast you can subscribe to on all devices, iOS and Android, via your favorite podcast app. If you subscribe already, thank you so much. Leave us a rating and a comment. If you don't, make sure you do. And also tell a friend to subscribe to us too. We are this has been episode number 275, the longest running UCF Knights podcast in the world.
Wow. Global.
This is
sounds like
global media empire continues to grow.
The longest episodic UCF podcast out there.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it. You said.
I need to get me out of this show.
He was gonna. I was so waiting for him to turn this into a WWE Raw joke. Did it.
So, do we tell them now that if you turn over to WWE, you'll see Mankind win the title?
Peacock. Or get your subscriptions, Peacock.
Thanks, Tony.
For Andrew Gluchov, Brian Murphy, and Eric Lopez, I'm Jeff Sharon saying thank you for listening. This has been the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. See you at the spring game. Enjoy the weekend, everybody.